You saying this stuff is you operating in good faith. These people don't care. Like, there are no long-standing principles that they abide by. This is the purported party of family values, the purported party of the Constitution, of law and order, of states' rights, of fiscal responsibility. They will throw that shit out the window the moment, the millisecond it becomes inconvenient for them, and that's what they did.
But Cenk Uygur has to go and defend himself on yet another lefty show. This time he's defending himself to Brian Tyler Cohen. Let's see how this goes down.
Saying these things to people as if they're operating under some principle that they should be against the establishment, that they should be against these donors, when they're not. The only longstanding principle is their allegiance to Trump. And so my worry is that, like, you trying to get through to them on these issues of principle is falling flat, because it's not principle that got them there in the first place. There is no longstanding principle when you are a Trump supporter.
Yeah. So, Brian, this is an interesting, I think this is probably the most interesting point of the conversation, because I think you're right and you're wrong. So the right part is what you're laying out the history of, and that is correct. That's what I've said, that's what you've said, and we've been accurate about that, right? So did Donald Trump do anything actually populist in his first term? No. He even forgot about the wall until 6 months were left, and I got to run on the wall, right. So I'll pretend to build like 3 feet of it, right? And all he did was giant corporate tax cuts, which is literally the least populist thing you could do. Right. And I say that all the time, again, on right-wing shows. I talk to them about Jav Yas, how Trump wanted to ban TikTok. Yas gives him a couple $1 million. All of a sudden, he likes TikTok. Same thing on electric vehicles and Elon. And again, whenever I make those points, even the host nod along, it's uncomfortably true, right? Yeah. So now, so on family values, another point where you're absolutely right. Enormous hypocrisy, like record-breaking hypocrisy for my entire life. Family values for you, but not for me. But I'll vote for the guy with the porn star mistress, et cetera, right?
I always hate how Cenk goes to the whole, he cut taxes for corporations. How is that exactly like an evil or bad thing? Like, yeah, I get it. To him, corporations evil, bad, yada, yada, yada. But how is making corporations give more money to the government gonna help, I don't know, put more money in my bank account? I know for workers of that company, that might help them out, though, if they don't have to give more of their money to the government. Keep in mind, I'm saying it might, because I know there's going to be people in the comments going, oh, no, they're just going to be greedy and hoard it all. And yeah, maybe. But there's also a good chance, too, that they also might give more of that to the company, leading it to grow, meaning more money for their workers. Either way, making corporations give more of their money to the government isn't exactly going to help us little guys.
On that, we've been 100% right. Okay. Now, where's the part where I think you're wrong? And this is the part where people... I think I'm a little ahead of people, and people think I'm being naive. So what I'm sensing, Brian, is from their audiences, and I'm not just sensing it like through intuition. They're literally doing polls while I'm on their shows. We're doing interactions, calls. When I went to AmFest, talked to literally hundreds of guys who are MAGA, as you know, they came up to talk to me, etc. And this is not the same base as Trump 2016. So that doesn't mean that they're angels. It doesn't mean that everyone on that side all of a sudden changed their mind. Will you find the immovable part of the Trump base as we had before? Absolutely, right? Will you still find some evangelical Christians? Yes, but they have greatly dwindled, both in size and power. So that family values stuff went out the door, partly because they were hypocrites, but partly because the evangelical Christians aren't in charge anymore of MAGA. So the rest of MAGA are kind of bros and stuff, and they don't really care about family values at all. In fact, a lot of the bros are pro-choice. So like when you say that some people on the right or agree with us on things like pro-choice or anti-corruption, the pushback I get from the left is, no way, they're all evil, they're all a monolith, they're all this, they're all that. No, guys, that's unsophisticated. 77 million people are not all the same thing. Right. And remember, we don't have to win or care that much about the outer edge of MAGA on the right. You're never going to win those guys over, and that's not the issue. You've got to win over people on the inner edge that voted for Obama, that voted for Biden, and now have voted for Trump. And those folks are not radicals. Those folks need to be won over. And they are different than what the base was before. And so what I'm sensing is, on anti-war and anti-corruption, they really do mean it. Now, if you say yes, but they're backing Trump, who's doing this obvious brazen corruption we just talked about.
I was trying to let him finish first. I'm trying not to interrupt too much with it. Just let the clip play, bro. Even though this is a commentary channel. But I wanted to interrupt because I have a point to make before he goes too off topic. Did anyone else catch that? How he was saying, like, oh, a lot of the mega bros are not pro-family. Like, you know how the left, they get all defensive when you say they're not pro-family and all these things? Like, they get all defensive. Cenk kind of just admitted it right there. Like, he just said, like, they're actually not pro-family. In fact, a lot of them are pro-choice. Oh, okay. I mean, listen, we all know that you guys aren't pro-family, but it's nice to hear you finally admit it, though. Did anyone else catch that? Yeah, so don't let them say, like, oh, no, why do you keep saying we're not pro-family? I mean, Cenk, listen, I know he's not representative of the whole leftist, movement or anything like that, but it's pretty safe to say majority of them feel this way. What do you guys think about that? Sound off in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel if you enjoy content like this. Let's continue.
That, and you touched on this, is the cognitive dissonance between these people purporting to say that they are for one thing and yet constantly reaffirming their support for Donald Trump, who stands in stark opposition to the very thing that they purport to be against. And so I guess my question for you is, what's your red line to the point where you finally recognize whether or not the people who you were talking to at Turning Point USA's AmFest, for example, are not actually operating in good faith, and whether there is, again, to my earlier question, no actual longstanding principle, it's other than fealty to the God King, right? Like I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out here, because thus far there has been no indication that even though they say they're for anti-corruption, Donald Trump's the most corrupt guy to ever sit in the Oval Office, even though they say that they're, for the list goes on and on, right? It's the list that we have spoken about earlier. But when will you stop giving certain people at this event, for example, the benefit of the doubt in terms of their actions not matching up to their rhetoric?
Yeah. So I think some things are clear, right? So, for example, we're not going to win on a whole heap of issues, right? So, like, if I try to convince them that the crypto bros are going in the wrong direction, right, I'm going to get massive blowback, and I'm never going to win on that.
Correct.
Okay. So that's going to take 4 years and probably us getting robbed to the tune of a couple of $1 trillion before they realize that mistake. Okay. So I'm super realistic about all of these different things. I think that on corruption, they're never going to want to admit in the beginning that Trump is doing favors for their donors. Although, again, I see right-wing hosts and people in their audience going, I understand what you're saying about Jeff Yaz and TikTok. I understand what you're saying about electric vehicles and Elon. So that's the beginning, right? It's not the end. So then my best guess is the anti-war stuff is where the rubber hits the road. So he put in, and Brian, parts of your audience, parts of the left-wing hosts, etc., might not love this, but my sense is that the rubber's probably going to hit the road on Israel. And so here's why. Because Trump put in Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, Mike Huckabee, and Mike Walls as Team Miriam. That's his,
right.
The four people that he's handing foreign policy to. Miriam Adelson is a supporter of the hard right wing in Israel. And so they're going to push towards outrageous positions like annexing the West Bank, annexing northern Gaza. Israeli press has already written about this. Israeli cabinet ministers are already excited about this. If they try to annex, for example, the West Bank, it probably will lead to a vicious, bloody war. And then, but I don't know the contours of it. They might just slaughter the Palestinians again. And I'm not naive enough to think that MAGA is going to be like, oh my God, we're losing precious Palestinian and Muslim lives, right? No, but I think at some point they're going to say, look, guys, this isn't America first. Why are we paying for another war of Israel? Why are we paying for another war of Israel, right?
Yeah.
So, and if they don't, though, and then they go, hey, you know what? I mean, now let's do an extreme example. If Trump helps Israel start a war with Iran and says we have to finance it, and they don't rebel, then I was totally wrong. And
I think I understand completely, and and these are good examples, and it's good to have this sense of like where it could go in the future, and I think that's a realistic example as well. But I think what you are probably giving more credit than I will is this sense that any of this stuff matters, because again, there has been they haven't shown any discernment thus far on any of the things that they claimed were their principles before, and so I'm skeptical at best of this notion that they're going to move away from Donald Trump as soon as he enacts any policy that goes against the grain in terms of what these people claim that they wanted. But again, remains to be seen. I hope you're right. I hope that they do show some discerning behavior toward Donald Trump. I'm skeptical that they will, but I guess we're going to see in the coming months and years here. I want to pivot over to the state of the media right now. Now, you have been, you and the team over at TYT have been critical of the left. Certainly more critical of the left than the right is of the Republican Party, which, that's your prerogative. You're certainly more critical of the Democratic Party than I am. I think that I can learn more from you in terms of bolstering independent media bona fides by virtue of doing that more. And I also think that there's a time and a place to do it. But we are in a media environment right now where we often see that left-wing media kind of bolsters its progressive bona fides by criticizing the left. Right-wing media bolsters its conservative bona fides also by criticizing the left. And so given that massive disparity, especially in light of how it presented itself ahead of this election, where so many people are consuming independent media right now, and that informs so much of their...
Brian Tyler Cohen is an idiot. I first heard about this guy. This is one of the guys, David Pacman. Like when he was freaking out about losing subscribers, he was like, I called Brian Tyler Cohen. I called this guy and that guy. But this dude's one of this. Sorry. Just thinking about these guys, like just texting each other like, oh my God, my subscribers. It's always like funny to me. But anyway, Brian Tyler Cohen's like an idiot. And it always amazes me how these lefties like always project onto us things that they're guilty of all the time. Like they're saying like we're just undying like loyalty. We have undying loyalty to Donald Trump. No. And in fact, right now, what's going on right now is a lot of people are upset about Trump and MAGA side because of the whole H-1B1 visa debate. Donald Trump recently came out agreeing with Elon Musk on the whole thing, and a lot of people are upset at him about it. Here's the thing, though. Just because like I disagree with Donald Trump on one thing doesn't mean I'm just going to like, oh, well, F Donald Trump now, bye. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just going to be like, oh, dang, like he went back on, one of the things or something, Like, yeah, if Donald Trump consistently starts to go back, like do a 180 on everything or majority anyway, then yes, I will turn my back on Donald Trump. And I have been a longtime Trump supporter since 2016. So yeah, like that will all be undone if he decides to go back on majority of his policies. But if he just goes back on one policy, yeah, listen, I will disagree with him on it. I will be upset about it, but I'm not just going to like, oh, well, screw Donald Trump. No, I got to be a leftist now. Like, F that. These dudes are crazy. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section. Smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I got more goodies for you on the screen if you enjoy content like this. See you guys next time.